Okay, Chair, I think you're good to go.
Okay, thank you very much, Philip. Good evening, all. I think we should introduce ourselves first. I'm Gina Adamo. I'm a councillor for Haringey Ward and I chair the licensing committee subcommittee. Can I ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, please?
I'm Councillor Barbara Blake from Seven Sisters Ward and the member of this committee.
And Councillor Luke Hawley-Harrison, Crouch End Ward.
Excellent, thank you. And the officers, please.
Good evening, I'm Dale Barrett, I'm the licensing team leader.
Good evening, I'm Michelle Williams, I'm the legal advisor. Unfortunately, my camera's not working. That's why you can't see me, but I'm here.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
I'm Nishar Bashar, I'm the licensing officer.
Good evening, and?
My name is Philip Slover, I am the clerk for this evening.
Okay, excellent, thank you very much. And, okay. So, could you please take a note that this meeting is being live streamed on the council's website and will be available for public viewing. We don't have any apologies or urgent business, am I right? Any declaration of interest by anybody? No, excellent, thank you. I'll just briefly say something about the summary of the procedure. The procedure for the meeting has been emailed to all participants by the clerk. For the purpose of any members of the public watching, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the applicant will present the review application to the committee. Those who have submitted representations and the premises license holder will have the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. We will then hear from those who have submitted representations to the committee. Applicants and premises license holders will have the opportunity to ask questions. After that, we will hear from the premises license holder and the applicant and those who have submitted a presentation will have the opportunity to ask questions. Otherwise, we will have the chance to ask questions and clarify anything that we find it difficult. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up. And then the meeting will conclude to allow the committee to deliberate and reach a decision. This decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. Now, can I ask the licensing officer, Mrs. Barrett, to start our meeting?
I will do. Chair, I'm just sending a message to ask where the noise officer is.
Okay. I think if I understood correct from Fiona, they have problems coming, and if that's the case, we have a written report
on the papers, but
yeah.
we'll just do a check, Chair.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Okay, so this evening the panel has before them, or the committee has before them, an application for the review of a premises licence at Jindingo 2A Queen's Parade in Bounds Green, N11. The application is submitted by Ms. Raithatha and Pooja Raithatha for a review of the licence issued to Mr. Silva at Jindingo. The applicants state that they have been impacted by the operation of the premises. The application is set out at Appendix 1 for you, Chair.
Yep.
There's obviously quite a lot of documentation within the review pack here that's been submitted. If there's anything in that I need to touch on, I will do so, but obviously the applicants themselves will take you through their documentation, Chair. Chair, at 1.2, the license, the timings for the current premises license are shown there, Chair. This license was initially granted in March 2018 to Mr. Silva and allows for the consumption of alcohol on the premises. And a copy of the premises license is can be found on page 77 of the pack, Chair. The grounds for the review are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Representations have been received, has been set out, and we have representations from the noise team as well as from the licensing authority, RA. There were representations received from persons wishing to support Mr. Silva or the premises license, but they were received out of time or could not be counted as valid, Chair, so they are not included in the pack this evening. And Chair, due to the fact that obviously this is a review and there are outstanding representations, the matter is here before the committee. The premises has operated as a wine bar under a previous premises licenses, Chair. In fact, initially the premises was operating as Phoenix Bar and Lounge. Mr. Silva, when she took over the premises in 2018, applied for a license in her own right, and that was subsequently granted at licensing committee. Since that time, however, the operation of the premises has received a number of complaints from nearby residents who have been adversely affected by noise and nuisance. It's also alleged that the venue has operated beyond its permitted hours, thereby giving rise to further complaints of noise and disturbances. Chair, just to let the committee know that the premises itself, 2A Queen's Parade, does have planning permission at this moment in time, and that planning permission allows it to operate until midnight. However, as we can see at section 1.2, the hours that have been granted under the license are not fully up to that timing, Chair. The premises is located on the first floor of a terrace of shop units with residential properties surrounding it, and it is accessed directly from the street by a flight of stairs into the actual premises. The records show that there has been 28 complaints during 2019. There was a warning letter served in 2019 and again on the 1st of May 2021. Chair, at section 5 there, we have the various matters, obviously, that the committee needs to consider. So as you know, the licensing objectives, the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. In terms of the decision and the process for that, Chair, as a matter of practice, the subcommittee should seek to focus the hearing on the steps considered appropriate to promote the particular licensing objectives or objectives that have given rise to the specific representation and avoid straying into undisputed areas. In determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interest of the local community, the subcommittee must give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including any supporting information presented by all the parties, the guidance, and the Council's own statement of licensing policy. Having heard all the representations from all the parties, the subcommittee must take steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. It may decide that no changes are required. However, if further steps are required, the available options are to A, modify the conditions of the premises license, B, to exclude an activity from the scope of the premises license, C, to suspend the premises license for a period not exceeding 3 months, or D, to revoke the premises license. Chair, at 6.4, we have included a section there on recorded music, Chair, which becomes relevant in this particular matter because the premises is able to benefit from the live music exemption in that it is able to offer music, recorded and live music on the premises between the hours of 8 and 11 p.m. without the need of that being mentioned on the license. However, you will note that in this particular review, one of the matters that the noise officer has raised is in her representation is that she believes that that exemption should be removed from the premises, that they're not able to have benefit of that exemption, which would in effect apply particularly on a Sunday, and that regulated entertainment should be curtailed on the licence in general, Chair. Chair, that's a bit about the live music and so forth, but the legal officer is aware and is able to direct you further when you go off for deliberations, Chair. Chair, at point 7 onwards, we have the sections of the 182 guidance that is relevant to your consideration here today. So within the guidance, it's saying that in deciding which of these powers to invoke, it is expected that licensing authorities should, so far as possible, seek to establish the cause or causes of the concerns that the representations identify. The remedial action taken should generally be directed at these causes and should always be no more than an appropriate or proportionate response to address the causes of concern that instigated the review. James, specifically on section 8, you will see the reference to section 177A of the legislation, which covers the ability to suspend the exemption on the licence or to attach further conditions as need be, Chair. Chair, just in finishing off this section of the report, you're reminded that section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act is comes into play, as does the Human Rights Act in regard to premises licences, Chair. Chair, can I just take you through the report, please, just to establish and give you some further information here. So on page 43, there is a it's a post, I believe, that the applicants have sent through of an event that was advertised for July 20th. It shows a ticket that the event be a nice event with buffet from 8 p.m. until 12 a.m. for £18. Then from 12 a.m. until 5 a.m. entrance, £5 for men at the door and free to women. We have checked and interrogated the system, so we can confirm that in fact the premises sought temporary event notices on the 31st of January to the 2nd of February 2020, on the 14th of February to the 15th of February 2020, and on the 6th of March to the 8th of March 2020. So in relation to this particular piece of evidence, which is pointing to the 20th of July, Saturday the 20th of July, that was this year, that then there was actually no temporary event notice in place for the premises to be going through till 5 a.m. on that particular date. Mr. Silva did attempt to submit a further temporary event notice during the course of the review proceedings, in fact, for the 15th of August, and that was refused by the noise and the police that are charged with looking at those particular applications, Chair. And Chair, there I can leave it unless you have any particular questions for me. You can hear from the applicants directly.
Thank you very much. I will ask members first if they have any questions. Yes, Councillor Harrison.
Thanks, Chair. Ms. Barrett, just on the initial background, you mentioned that there was a planning condition on the hours of operation. I think you mentioned it as midnight, but in my packet it says 11 p.m. So I just wanted confirmation, because obviously the licence runs until 11:30 and 12 on some days, depending on which day, which would be after the planning condition. I'm looking at page 2.
Yes, I can see that, Chair, on 2.3. So
Yeah.
obviously, as you know, so the hours that's already granted are already on the license. So although it's not a breach of licensing terms, it may well be a breach of planning terms. However, when I checked on the planning register a little bit earlier, unfortunately, it wasn't allowing you to search for 2A, just number 2. And the timings it was showing there on number 2 stated midnight. I did send a further email to the planning duty officer, but I doubt if I will get any further response back from them this evening.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay, fine, thank you. That's it, thanks, Chair.
Okay, anyone else? No, okay. Then anyone else has any, the applicant, do you have any questions, any to the officer?
Good evening, everyone. Basically, essentially, we're just going through the same thing that we did the year before last. We had a fairly peaceful year last year, and that was due to the sad circumstances of a global pandemic, which is why we were not disturbed for an entire year. But we live with elderly parents who have to go through this every weekend, and it's come to a point where the licensing rules, the timings, the live music, everything is basically being disregarded to put up these events. And it's not just Sundays that I'd like to point out, it's the Fridays, the Saturdays, as well as the Sundays. And more recently, we've actually had...
Sorry, Chair, at this time, it really is only questions.
Yes.
Right now, so you'll get your opportunity to make a statement, but it is
Oh,
only
sorry, I thought it was our time to speak. That's fine. No questions then.
No questions. Okay, you will have a chance to speak up later.
Sure, no problem. Then I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. Anybody else has questions? And the premises license holder, for instance? No, I don't think anybody else has questions in that case. And now we hear from the applicant for the review, which is you, I think, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is 2 people for the applicant for the review? Who is going to speak?
Yes, it's myself and my sister.
Okay, start when you're ready.
Sure. So as I was just saying, just to reiterate the point that it's not, and the letter that we got last year did say 11 p.m. if that's something that I can share with you eventually. But the way that we see it is that they've been given these licenses on a temporary basis on specific dates, but that's not being adhered to, and the complaints we've made, as you mentioned, are not only on those dates. And the fact that they're being given that permission to operate till 5 o'clock in the morning in the middle of a residential unit doesn't allow them to play music at ridiculous levels. And to further add to the stress, more recently, we've had people from the club exiting out of the back where our bedroom windows fall and actually urinating at the bottom of our fire escape. So it's getting to the point now where if I look out my window, I've got people urinating at the bottom of my staircase, and it's just sadly not acceptable. And we've been going through this not just with this bar, but it's been a decade of granting licenses to different businesses, as you rightly mentioned, Phoenix, and we just don't understand why it keeps getting done. It's just not sensible to have it in the place that it's in. And further to that, the events are being openly advertised until 5 o'clock in the morning. And we know that that's the weekend that we are not going to get any sleep. We can preempt that there's going to be a problem. And then, sorry, I'm not particularly well at the moment, so my voice isn't great. But I mean, the year before, when we had another review, we were talking about them modifying the premises and all of that. None of that has been done. And as far as I'm concerned, aside from revoking this license, there doesn't seem to be a step forward, because we've been through this several times, and every single time the rules are broken, they're disregarded, there's no consideration for the residents, and as I said, it's just not something that we wish to live with anymore. So, I mean, if Pooja, do you want to add anything to that? I don't know if I've covered. You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, hello. So my name's Pooja. I live at Flat 1 Queen's Parade, just above the premises. Well, not just above, but in the parade above the premises. And yeah, this is probably the third hearing that we've been through. The last one being one that was an application to extend the timings to 5 a.m., which of course was then rejected. With regards to the TENS licenses, and yes, there were a few occasions where they were applied for till 5 a.m. It sort of renders the license moot, really, if they can apply for TENS licenses until 5 in the morning, and we shouldn't have to check to see how long we are going to be kept up every weekend. I work weekends. I'm in healthcare, so I do work Saturdays as well. Don't appreciate having to spend my Friday nights until 2 in the morning or 5 in the morning, or even until 11:30 hearing loud music, and then having to wake up early the next morning, or coming back from work and anticipating loud music. It's just not on. With regards to who else lives here, of course, we've got our elderly parents as well, and we did go through quite a rough year in 2019 with my father's mental health, as well as physical health, which is still an ongoing thing. But again, access to and from the flats, seeing sort of vomit on the floor outside the minicab entrance, which is where our entrance is to the flats, as well as sort of cigarette butts, or having to hear loud noises at the back of our flats is not necessarily something that you would want when you're trying to take care of an elderly parent. So, there's not really much more I can say. I mean, all of the noise references that I've added into the representation sort of speak for themselves. There have been times where, obviously, yes, they have had a TENS license, but the music has been unbearably loud. Recently, we had a visit from a couple of noise officers as well, who directed me to the noise app, which I've also included the references as to. I mean, I wasn't aware of it until they did tell me about it. I think this was around July this year, and I was actually able to record sort of voices at the back of our flats, etc., which doesn't matter what time, doesn't matter how long they are operating until, there just should not be any disturbance. And in terms of, a business, etc., we're not opposed to anyone wanting to run a business. However, if it does disrupt the quality of life of me and my family, I will continue to oppose anyone who's applying for a license to play music till early hours of the morning. There's no argument in it. It's safe to make the assumption that the issues will continue, not just with Jindango, but any other recorded music license that will be granted to any other future business owner within the premises. This has been going on for over a decade, 15 years, since I was probably 8-9 years old. So at first, my mum's had to fight for sort of having peace of mind every weekend, and now it's us. And like I said, there's a pattern, there's ongoing behaviour. No matter how many times this is reviewed, we'll still keep coming back to it. And it's not just the music, it's the antisocial behaviour, loud voices. There are several bits that we've attached to the representation regarding arguments breaking out the back of the premises as well. In the early hours of the morning, which again is not really something that I appreciate, being woken up by at 2 in the morning. It's not something that anyone should really live with. Next door, we've actually included 2 statements as well. One from our neighbour, who unfortunately cannot speak or represent herself, as she her English isn't very good, so she wasn't too confident to represent herself, but we did speak to her, and she has submitted a statement on her behalf, as well as a shop owner who has made a point of he's had a few conflicts with a couple of the people who run the restaurant/bar. So it's not just us that are being disrupted. The direct premises above household above the premises is also being disrupted, but it's just unfortunate that they can't actually represent themselves adequately. But we have included a statement there as well.
Okay, thank you. All I wanted to say that we have all the statements, the written statements, and I read them all. I'm sure my colleagues also have read them all, so you don't have to worry about that. Mrs. Pike, did you want to come in? You got your hand up?
Yes, Chair. It was just to say that there was people waiting in the lobby. I believe they've been allowed in at the moment, Chair. It'd be good to have them introduce themselves and say who they are.
Okay, yes, yes. Philip, please, as you allow them in, please give your names and say whatever what capacity you're here. I can't see anybody.
I think it's Sandra who's just been admitted to the meeting.
Yes.
Sandra Blair.
Miss Blair,
That's me.
can you introduce yourself to the committee, please, and say who you are?
I'm Sandra Blair. On behalf of.
Your camera is not on, or we cannot see you.
Oh, where is the camera now?
If you can't, that's fine. We can hear you.
Forgive me, it's the first time I'm using this app, so I'm very probably ignorant of it. But I am on behalf of Micaela de Silva, and I think I'm the only one.
Okay. Are you advocating for Mr. Silva? Are you her legal representative?
Well, I'm not her legal representative, but I am representing her. Roca, the other gentleman, was unable to make it because he's on holidays.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I will call you in time to speak. For now, I'd like to ask members if you have any questions to what we just heard. Please indicate if you have. Councillor Harrison.
Yes, it was a question for Dale, just relation to what was mentioned about the TENS license. And earlier, I think you said that one had been rejected on one of the dates that was being advertised as till 5 AM. So I was just wondering what the process is for determining whether a TENS license is accepted or rejected on this premises, given, you know, the record that we've had and previous objections and the variation request which was refused to 5 AM, you know, as the permanent license.
Okay, so a temporary event notice is available to anybody basically to be able to submit should they wish to offer licensed activity at a premises. So yes, existing license holders apply for them in order to extend on particular days. People who are hiring a venue may also submit a temporary event notice in order to allow for like a pay bar or to be offering regulated entertainment in a particular venue at a particular date and time. I suppose for Mr. Silva, she's used temporary event notices to extend on given days, but as I was pointing out from the paperwork submitted on the date for this particular ticket that showed on page 43, there wasn't a TENS in place. And it is just the police and the noise as responsible authority that are able to consider TENS. They do not go out into the public. The public cannot ask their views on TENS in any way, shape or form. So it's just the police, noise officer, and considering all the 4 licensing objectives as to whether or not they go ahead.
Any more questions? Can I ask whatever you describe the norms and the social behavior you witness? Can I ask whatever you rang the police at any time during at any point?
Sorry, is that question directed?
Yes, the question to the applicant.
Yes, because you said You spoke about the noise, you spoke about how you witness antisocial behavior.
We
I was
have,
just
yes, we
wondering
have in
whatever you call the police.
we have in the past, and then we were directed to a community officer, I believe, who was liaising with us via email. So we have called the police in the past as well, where I've actually had to go down at 4 a.m. and be surrounded by people, which wasn't the most pleasant experience. But yeah, we have called the police. We were assigned a community officer, but we haven't really heard, or sort of nothing really has come of that, to be honest.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions from Councillor Blake?
Thank you, Chair. Could I ask Ms. Rathatha, I mean, how close is is it a house or a flat that you live in? And how close are you to these premises?
So, okay, so we're a maisonette above a row of shops. And this particular bar has been split. So that shop underneath our house has been split into 2 levels. So there's a pizza shop underneath, and then this bar is directly above it. So it's been brought closer up to our floor, basically.
Okay. And I mean, I've read in the papers where you say sometimes have you actually been down into the premises?
Yes.
And sometimes the staff or whoever there are aggressive towards you.
Yeah,
Could you explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, so there was an occasion where I went down. I remember this was at the height of when we had a lot of, like, my dad was very unwell. I had to go down at 4 o'clock in the morning alone, and I was surrounded by 4 people that came out of the bar, including the owner. She was there herself. I'm sure she can vouch for it. And I had to stand up to these people and say that your music is just too loud. I'm having to come down. And then at one point, because I didn't come back up, my 70-year-old mother came down to see if I was okay. So yes, this is what happened. Okay. It's just, I mean, just to add to the point about, whether it's a TENS license or not, whether it's granted or not till 5 a.m., even if the permission's till 11, it's flouted. So the license essentially is moot, because regardless of whether there's a TENS, whether it's until 11, whether it's recorded, whether it's allowed live music, it's a constant nuisance, and the rules are just not being followed. So the way we see it is that the music just shouldn't be allowed at this premises.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Blair, you are representing the owner of these premises. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. From speaking to Ms. De Silva, at the time when she first attended the property, when she was just about to take over, Ms. De Silva spoke of your mother having asked her the question if she was going to sell alcohol, and she said yes. And then she said, well, you can't stay here. Now, I have heard everything that you've said about music, but for some reason, I just don't believe that it's all about the music. I just think that anybody who comes there is going to have this problem. There was another time when she was just recently when she was.
Could I ask you if you have direct questions, please, and you have a chance to do a presentation after.
Okay, so the question on this occasion here is, why did your mother ask her that question? What was the purpose of asking her if she was going to sell alcohol?
I believe you may have missed.
But it is a bar.
Sorry,
yes.
Chair. Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
That's not relevant.
I will imagine this is
the license has been granted and they have got the ability to sell alcohol. So
yes, that's all right. And it would be difficult to respond to somebody's comment, really. So,
okay. There is also another question.
Okay.
And this other question is, there was on one occasion in the morning when the bar was closed, and Mr. Silva came from the back up into the bar, and she saw your mother. And by the time she went in, about 10 minutes after, the police was at the door. and they said that the bar was still going when it should not have been going. When she opened the door to them, all the police could see in the building is this lady. There was nobody else in the building. And so my question to you here is there a prejudice?
We don't recall contacting the police since we were speaking to the community officer. I'm not quite sure what you mean by prejudice, as we've stated already that anyone who has applied for a license to play any form of music has been a nuisance, regardless of anything else. It's been a problem.
Are you saying the police did not attend?
I mean, I'm not aware they haven't contacted us about anything, so I'm not quite sure when this was. I mean, the last time we probably contacted the police about antisocial behaviour was probably 2019.
Yeah.
Sorry, about when?
2019, when the community officer was actually in contact with us. Otherwise, I don't really recall any other contact with the police.
This was much recent than that. You see, so what I can understand, you're talking about the music. Where your premises is situated, you are not exactly above this the bar, are you?
No, we're not. But again, when it comes to the acoustics of the building itself, we're still experiencing the noise, as actually a couple of noise officers have come and actually witnessed that it was excessively loud. So whether we're directly above or adjacent, we're still sharing the wall that actually keeps the building up, and we're still hearing the music. So I'm not quite sure, being directly above or not, it's still been a nuisance which has been witnessed. So I'm not sure why that's valid.
The lady who lives exactly, or the person who lives exactly above the bar, has never one day come downstairs. I'm aware that she has signed your petition, but nobody in that building has ever on any occasion come downstairs and say anything about the music. Yes,
Okay, so I'd like to address that. That house is being rented to several different people over the past 2 years, and as my sister mentioned before you joined the meeting, the lady who lives there, her English is not very good, and she has several children in the house, which is why she doesn't come down. But that doesn't mean that statement.
How old are the children, may I ask?
Really relevant.
Because what I'm trying to say is, if the lady her English is not the very best, I appreciate that. But I am just saying that maybe one of the children may speak proper English or a better English.
It doesn't matter. She put a written statement in, and I think we'll leave it at that. Do you have any more questions?
Okay, yes, I do actually. I'm so sorry, Councillor. I do have another question.
Yeah?
The other question here is, on the petition, there are so many people on that petition who have signed with the same surname as yourselves. Are they related to you?
Which petition are we talking about? The statements or? Sorry.
You did gather a petition with different people signing it.
Can I stop you there, because we don't have a petition here, as far as I know.
Thank you, Chair. That's correct. It's in the pack, Chair, on page 28, but it was in relation to the 2019 application.
I don't know how I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, it's in relation to the 2019 application, Chair. Nothing to do with this review application right now.
Okay. And even in terms of some of these people who have signed their petition, their proximity to the
Sorry,
bar.
again, Miss Blair, you're going to be stopped there, because there is no issue around vicinity and the closeness of a person to a licensed premises. You could have come through an area at any given time, and actually your home is in Australia, but you could still make a representation on a licensing matter. So that is not a relevant point, I'm afraid.
Well, it's not just about the licensing, Dahlia, because it's also a situation where these other people have come in support. When in all fairness, I don't believe that they're actually affected. They may have come because you know they know this lady and they may want to give some support. What I'm actually looking at here is a person who came with all good intentions to do a business. She had no intention of coming to upset any of the neighbors. So in this situation here, couldn't it be a situation, pardon me, that this could be resolved more amicably?
Okay, so we have the review application before the committee, and that's what the committee are here to address this evening, I'm afraid. So, you know, if you've got any further questions, then you need to direct them via the chair. If not, then the chair will need to move the meeting.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, right, okay. Therefore, I think I will ask now the people who submitted their representation in relation to the review I've got two people here. It's Phil Cohen, Licensing Authority, and Jennifer. So can I ask Philip if you're here?
Sorry, Chair, before we move on, I believe Miss Williams, the legal officer, has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Okay.
Also has her hand up.
I can't see people. Anyway.
I will shout out for you.
Okay.
Yes, Chair, just for the benefit of Miss Blair, who attended late, it's just a reminder that the ambit of the review today has to be within the confines of the licensing objectives. So any representations, etc., need to be relating to the licensing objectives.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. I see another hand up. Do you have anything else to ask? To say? You will have a chance at the end of it to sum up.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll probably wait at the end for the summary then, that's fine.
Okay, so thank you. So I will ask Philip. I can't see him if he's around.
No, Philip is not here, Chair. So you've got Miss Shah on the call to do the licensing authority representation.
Yes, I'm sorry, Miss Shah. Yeah.
That's okay, Chair. I'm just here to stand in for Philip. The licensing authority representation is based on the license holder's failure to uphold and promote the prevention of public nuisance objective, and also to have events at her premises without the benefit of a temporary event notice in place. There have been various occasions where it has been evidence that she has been holding events without any license, and therefore our representation has been put in place. Of course, it's for the licensing subcommittee to determine the review application, but we would support any decision for the full removal of regulated entertainment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will first of all, before I take questions, let me clarify. The noise team are not here, are they?
No, Chair, they are not here, but can I just...
Yeah, we have a written report from them, that's fine. Are there any questions? Then you got your hand up by mistake, or?
Yes, Chair, I was just going to point you through to the noise team's representation and their conclusion, Chair, on page 101.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. I read them. I'm sure we all read them. I will take questions if there are any questions for Shah, for the licensing authority officer. I'll take first from members. Councillor Harrison.
Thanks. I don't know whether this is for Shah or Dale or whether it be noise, but I was just wondering whether any reports had come in during lockdown that the business had been operating during lockdown at all, whether that's via resident complaint or your own monitoring officers at all. It's quite hard to work out from the dates at the end of the pack because I don't off the top of my head know exactly when we were going through whatever stages of everything, you know.
I don't know who can answer that.
Chair, I do not see anything there that I can say for definite. We can do a quick check because we did have COVID marshals out during the lockdown periods, and we can certainly check and come back to you on that.
That's excellent. If we cannot check ourselves later and we'll have a discussion. Any other questions? Have I got any questions? Okay. Can I ask if anyone else has questions? But please questions, not statements, because you have your chance after. I don't think there are any questions. In that case, I will ask I'm sorry, Miss Blair, you do the presentation. So would you like to speak now?
Yes, Councillor. It has dawned on me. I understand that obviously we are here within, the maybe renewal of the license or review of the license, but I just find it a little bit ironic that none of the other tenants above this shop, this bar, has actually complained. And if it was that bad, I'm pretty sure that someone else would have, no matter how bad their English is. And it's not only one person, I assume, who lives there whose English may not be as good as others. But no one else has come forward. Yet they may sign the petition. And we all know that people sign petitions for whatever their reasons may be. But this lady has been living above this address for quite some time. And I understand, honestly, I do understand that people like to have their, quiet and peaceful enjoyment of their residence. However, this is a lady who has tried and tried, just to make it happen. And are we saying that if the only issue here is what they're saying is the noise, then I'm pretty sure that there could be some other way of settling this, but it has not been tried. They have said that they have been downstairs and they have spoken to Miss De Silva. How? What initiative has been taken? Has there ever been a meeting between both parties to see if they could settle this thing? This apparently has been going on for some time. And I take the view that when someone is going to question you initially on whether or not what you're going to sell or what you're going to do or whatever it is, this person may have taken an impression of you even before you have started, mainly because of what the basis of your business is all about. Now, I understand that at this meeting, her license may be terminated. It's a possibility. But before such drastic action is taken, I think what I'm going to ask the panel here to do is to look at this situation and see if that is the only resort that this meeting, may be able to come to a decision on. The situation here is there are people who use this place, and the people who use this place, it's a cultural place for this community. You even have the ambassador for that country attended these premises. So in my view, this is not something that cannot be settled without her having to lose her license. I hope that it does not come to that. But in terms of even, support and things like that for the lady that lives upstairs, fair enough. But people have actually spoken to Miss De Silva. This lady speaks so badly of her to the community. It gets back to her. It's not everybody who is going to say, oh, she plays her music or whatever, and you know, this is what it is. So for the fact that she is the only person who says this is what it is, there must be another way. It cannot just be this way and this way only. I don't want to say it is draconian, but there must be another way. I think she has been there about 3 years or going 4 years. So even during lockdown, when she was not operating, but even then, from I think 2000 and maybe 17 or 18, Delia knows more about it than I do in terms of dates. But there must be, there should be another way. This is not the first time, Councillor, that this has been brought to this meeting, this authority's attention. It has been brought to this authority's attention before. And come on, there must be another way. If it, you know, nobody's saying that she should leave her home. No, that cannot be a decision, and it would not be considered. But what I'm saying is, if the only complaint can be the music, there isn't anything else that I can see or has spoken of since I have come in. I appreciate I was a little bit late coming in, but if there is nothing else, I am going to ask this meeting, because she's been there for such a long time, and the only complaint is about the music, and every other persons who have obtained some kind of management or lease to the building, who has this kind of business, it's the same thing, and they all have to close. So the music, I know that she has an equipment with her that curtails the level of the music. The place is not soundproof, which she has spoken to the landlord about it, but she has taken the step to get a device that will be able to curtail the loudness of the music. So it's not that she's not taking steps or she's not doing anything. When the police came, this lady was heavily pregnant, and they said they had a complaint. And the only person that they saw in the building was one heavily pregnant woman. There was nobody else in there. There was no music, you know. And so as human beings, you know, things can come in a way when that's not how it is intended. And I am not here, Councillor, to say that the lady upstairs may be adverse in her thinking or her ways or whatever. That is not the situation. What I am trying to say is, if the only problem is the music, and she's the only person who complains, something is wrong. Okay. Something is wrong. The police came, and there wasn't anything as was said.
Okay, thank you. I think you keep repeating now yourself. I have a question, but first I think I see two hands up, the legal officer and the licensing officer. You want to come in?
Okay, Chair, I would just come in to say that obviously Miss Blair has to address the committee. Yes. In terms of the licensing objectives. And she is suggesting that there is another way. And I was just wondering, Chair, if she can perhaps address the committee as to what proposals the license holder has in terms of dealing with the actual allegations that have been made in terms of the noise nuisance being experienced by the residents.
Thank you for saying that.
Before you come in, can I ask the licensing officer? You want to come in as well, Ms. Bayer?
Chair, I'll come in afterwards, please. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Blair, then. You want to
yes. Thank you, Chair. I have actually taken it upon myself recently to visit the premises, and I took it upon myself to lower the music to a very low noise level. And I think that is something that if maintained, and it is possible, it can be maintained, then the noise would not be an issue. I've spoken to Mr. Silva the day when I went there, and she actually agreed, and she took the initiative to lower the music to the level that I have asked her to do. And if we can maintain that, I do believe that both parties can operate.
Okay, I have a question for you. You keep saying there must be another way over the noise, but the complaints have been going on for some time. Can I ask whatever Mr. Silva consider spending some money to do the soundproofing? That will be a great help and it will resolve the issues.
We have spoken of that, Chair, and it is extremely expensive to do that. And I don't know, but as things are at the moment, it is financially difficult to a certain extent, and that is why I asked her to speak with the landlord to see if he could actually assist, or if I may go further, to ask this meeting if there is a grant that could be given for this purpose.
Okay, I will take any other questions from members, if there are any. Yes, Councillor Harrison.
Can I just check? I thought there was a previous condition for soundproofing already on the premises as part of the previous license or as part of the review. So
Yes.
they're already failing on that condition. I'm not really sure why Ms. Blair is suggesting that that can't be done. You're basically just saying that you can't fulfill the condition that's already in place. Have I misunderstood? Perhaps Ms. Barrett can confirm.
No, Chair, you're complete. That is correct. And in fact, when the license was initially granted in 2018, it was discussed at that meeting. Ms. De Silva made a point that she didn't have funds available to put in soundproofing. So the license was conditioned to require a noise limiter was put in place, and an informative was put on the license that the committee noted the undertaking of the applicant to install soundproofing once the business had been established. I'm not aware that that's been done to date.
Yeah, I have read that. You're right. Councillor Blake.
Thank you, Chair. So, Ms. Blair, you said several times that there should be other ways of settling this. You did say it wasn't the first time, but have yourself or Ms. De Silva ever offered to set up a meeting, or had what steps have yourself or Ms. De Silva made to the applicants to try and resolve this?
Oh, that's a very good question, actually.
Right, let me just okay, if you can answer that, and then Chair, I do have a second question.
Okay, yes.
When I get to know of the situation, I asked the question if a meeting has been arranged with the lady upstairs, and there wasn't one. And I said that there should be a meeting. I even said this about maybe 3-4 weeks ago, but at that time, this hearing was already scheduled to happen, and Mr. Silva didn't think that so close to this meeting, it would made much of a difference here at that time. But it is something that has been discussed, and it is something that I would gladly be a part of it if and when it does happen.
Okay, well, but the complaints have been going on for quite a long time, a number of years. Hasn't yourself or Mr. Silva thought maybe 2 years ago that it might, or you know, might have been a good idea to have set up a meeting then and tried to come to a resolution then. What I'm trying to get to is you're saying that there should be another way, but surely that other way could have been discussed a long time before now. So if you could just address that.
Okay, thank you. If let us remind ourselves that COVID came in early, when was it, 2020? So for that whole year, more or less, nothing happened at that place. And when I actually got involved, I was not involved from the very beginning. So at the point when I became knowledgeable of exactly what has been going on and is going on. So that was when I took the initiative to ask if there was a meeting and if one should be requested. But at the time, this was already in place.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Blair. And Chair, I've just got another question. Ms. Blair, you did say that if the only problem is the music, but I know you joined the meeting a little late, but the applicants and indeed some of the written or all of the written statements talk about people sitting outside, they talk about arguments in the back, they talk about people urinating at the back of the building, standing out there smoking. So actually, it seems to me that the problems are not just the music, but are the general running of this place that is allowing people, you know, to disturb residents in that way.
Okay.
So you're saying if the only problem is music, but are you aware that the only problem isn't the music, it's other issues as well?
Okay, in terms of people sitting outside and having arguments outside, I am not aware of people sitting outside and having arguments. In our culture, people may speak a little bit louder than some other people, but that is not to say that there's an argument between the people using the premises. In terms of smoking outside, it is well known that people are not allowed to smoke inside of a nightclub or in an office or anywhere. And so they'll probably have to go outside to smoke their cigarettes. So it's very difficult to say that people are smoking outside. In terms of people urinating outside, if that is happening, and that is very unkind and it is gross. But I haven't seen or even heard, of people urinating outside. And that is the truth.
Okay, thank you. May I say, there are pictures in all the papers we have in front of us of a number of people sitting outside and everything. So I thought I said that for your information, Ms. Claire, in case you're not aware of it. Okay, are there any more questions from, sorry, is that you, Councillor Harrison, did you want to speak?
Yes, but I'm happy for Dale to go first if it was on that point.
So, no, I'm just going to point out to the chair that Mr. Silva has actually got her hand up to say something as well as the licence holder.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was going to come back to that.
Okay, so my question was just on the point of outside patrons and whether a pavement licence had been applied for at all, whether they have designated space that's private on the forecourt or whether that's highway.
Chair, I cannot, there is no pavement licence issued for here. However, I cannot say from looking at this that it's whether it's a private forecourt or not. Certainly the licence that was submitted, the plan, that did not include any external forecourt area. So I would presume it to be public highway, which they do not have a licence for.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Silva, is there anything you'd like to say? You got your hand up. I can't hear you.
Good evening. Can you hear
Hello.
me? Hi, hello. I wanted to emphasize what Miss Sandra was saying when you asked if I arrange any meeting to speak with this family. Before I even opened the business, I went upstairs for two times and I spoke with the parents of Miss Ratataya, and they explained me. They told me that the landlord should tell me the truth about this bar. The landlord, he lied to me. He should help me. He just wanted to take my money because this bar cannot succeed because of the noise, and I haven't even started the business. So also during these years, I paid one company, sound system company specialized in sound, and they came to evaluate the sound. So I had to knock the door again of this family to see and measure how bad the noise was, what was the impact of the noise in their properties. So in order to have a very big impact, we had to put the music on 100% loud, which nobody can stand. I did this exercise as well with Miss um, this I think her name is Janet Barrett as well, from the noise team
Noise.
from Haringey. So this company told me that in order to basically, if I if, to hear the music, we had to put music downstairs in a very loud sound that nobody can stand it. The second of all, in order to put the sound isolation, because the building is so old, we should have to put isolation as well on the floor because of the vibration. So just for the walls and the ceiling was 14,000 pounds. But with the flooring as well, isolation would be 20,000 pounds. So I deposit all my money to start this business. I am a single mother with 4 children. I deposit all my savings to help my children, to help myself, to improve my life. And I didn't have no money more to isolate the whole venue with the acoustic sound system. So on the first and last hearing I went, I explained that I need to generate money first to be able to pay this company and make the sound isolation, which would benefit for myself and from all the neighbors as well. So the only trick, the only way to make money was to applied for the extending hours, because young people, when they on my community, when they start to coming out for a bar, because it's not a restaurant, it's a bar, they start from 10 o'clock and my license finish at 11 o'clock. So I cannot generate money in 1 hour. This is the reason why I was always asking and applying for the council for the 10th license, to be able to pay the rent, pay the staff, and also put in a way some savings to this project, which was put the sound isolation. With the COVID, everything got worse. I had so many bills coming in and everything stopped. I want to also, I also want you to know that since I started on the beginning, nobody speak to me. No one of the neighbors. I'm saying on other shops, they don't speak to me. I was like the ugly duck on the middle. Even to park my car, they didn't accept myself to park my car on the backside where every shop owners used to park. So a lot of the employees used to tell me that this family come downstairs saying, "Oh, these people is not good. These people is this. These people is that," and they didn't even know me, you know. My intention of opening a business, I have a business management degree. I didn't study all this life. Even pregnant, I was going to school. I didn't study. I didn't save money to come and bother other people. The point here is the noise of this meeting. And my intention was never to bother no one, because even during the day, 2 a.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., the council always comes. I feel this like a bully. I'm suffering bullying. Do you understand? Because okay, so the black people, it looks like I feel like I sometimes I don't even explain. Everybody from the noise team, they know me. The noise officers, they know me, because everybody, they in my shop, even when there's no music. So it's very unkind and very, it's just not cool, you know. For this ladies comes and saying that our people urinates outside. No, we are not that level. My ambassador of my country comes every Sunday to eat on my place, because I am the only place, Angolan place in UK. I promote my culture. I didn't come here to bother no one. And I want you to let you know that since I started this business, I'm struggling. I cannot generate money. I cannot make money. The money I make with these events, with the tennis license, is the money to pay the rent and bring some milk to my children. But money, I can't, because I have a bar that cannot be a bar. I have a bar that just have 1 hour of bar. I have a bar that has a coffee shop license. I cannot have a DJ. I cannot have a live music. I cannot have anything. So how can I ask my clients to come? How can I elicit them to come? You know, so I had to find another strategy, which was selling food. Okay, so now I have elderly clients, customers come to eat food. You know, from food, traditional food from my country. So I've done so many things. And also, I want you to know that even struggling, I paid £2,000 of noise control machine from this company. I spoke to him. I said, okay, I'm broke, but at least I'm going to put the noise control machine. Jennifer Barrett, she went there, she measured and so on and so forth. So on the top, people that lives on the top of the bar, I never saw them. I don't even know who they are. It's just this family that has something, but I believe that is something personal with the landlord, because they called my landlord direct. These ladies, instead of calling me, they call my landlord.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You make your views very clear. Can I ask if there are any questions from anybody? Miss, I hope I pronounce your name correct. Rahana, is it? Do you have any questions?
Sorry, Chair, was that
yeah, do you have
myself?
any questions?
No, but it was just a closing statement really that I wanted to maybe summarize.
No, I will ask you to close.
Yeah, that's fine. No questions for me.
I will ask you to sum up. Can I ask the licensing officer, Miss Barry, do you need to say anything? You have your hand up.
Yes, Chair. I think we have explored this, Mr. Silva's arguments previously, and you know, when the initial application in 2018 received representations in relation to the fact that it was required, you know, asking for regulated entertainment and so forth. And I think it was made clear from the very beginning that really and truly the premises and its situation was maybe not best suited as a late bar. Yeah. Planning have also come back to confirm that the hours shown at 2.3 in the report package are in fact the correct hours for 2A. Queen's Parade also, but it has already for some time been known that it's not best suited as a late bar. Previous owners who tried to operate it as something more than that, or as a nightclub, have also failed there because it's just not suited for that. And clearly the fact remains that without extensive work done to the premises, regulated entertainment taking place on site is always going to be an issue for those living nearby.
Thank you. I will ask you now, or to sum up, and may I first ask the applicants for the review to sum up, please?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so just to sum up, I mean, a couple of the points that were made as well. I mean, with regards to, nobody else coming forward, number two, we have explained. Number three has been vacant for over a decade, so there is no one else within the same close proximity. In the middle of number 3 and 4, there is a minicab office, so hence why nobody else has actually come forward. The petition that was signed was not only for the noise, but just the antisocial behaviour really experienced by those around, and probably further supported by the fact that the shop owner, who has written a statement, has also submitted and been able to share evidence to do with the antisocial behaviour. With regards to the police coming round, like we said, we haven't actually contacted the police since 2019 because of it just trailed off really. Calling the police during the day, I mean, speaking of the lady upstairs, i.e. my mother, who isn't representing, it's me, myself and my sister, she doesn't have time to call the police, let alone, she has hardly any time to take care of my father, being the primary caregiver of him, let alone call the police in the middle of the day. So if there was anyone else calling the police, it could have been any of the other business owners, further supported by the fact that one of them has actually written a statement about his conflicts with the people who are running the restaurant / bar. The impression that has been made that Mr. Silva's representative has actually said is due to the history and the track record of complaints. The statements do with race. There have been an array of different types of people that have applied for licenses within that premises, all of which have had to leave because of the evidence submitted through the council. It's not that they have up and left because we've intimidated them. We've tried going through means that are correct and that are coherent in order to do so. And the statements to do with race is completely, thrown me. Being amicable, there have been several attempts trying to call Mr. Silva when there has been noise. After a while, I have given up because there's been no answer. It's been the actual number that's been posted up in front of the restaurant, and there's hardly been any answer to that. We've also submitted evidence from our previous representation to do with that. There's actually been no communication. So I've tried to contact Mr. Silva before contacting the council several times, but she's not actually picked up her phone. There has been one visit with so-called supposed engineers to our house, end of 2018, 2019. However, they came in, took a look around, nothing was done after that. We do support anyone wanting to make a business, but if it's disrupting our quality of life, then anyone who does apply for a license, due to the track record of the premises, we will oppose them. It doesn't matter who you are. History says everything it needs to, really. There's no specific objection to live music, nor permission given for live music in the license, there being a loophole in itself. But if I remember correctly, I think Ms. Jennifer Barrett, who was helping with the sound limiter, said that the live music can override the sound limiter. So that in itself would be a problem, seeing as she has been playing live music at her premises. Soundproofing was spoken beginning of 2018. I think there was mentioned that when there was a profit to then be installed, but there was no specification as to what a profit would be or when that would happen. We have no objection for her to run her business so long as patrons and those running the premises follow the license and the way the bar is required to run. But the way that she is stating for it to be run, however, is not realistic in a residential block. 10's licenses until 5 a.m. Patrons coming in at 10 p.m. and starting their party. Unfortunately, that's something that I don't really care for, as harsh as that sounds, because I do live here. And previously, because the representation that was made by us opposing the 5 a.m. extension, it was said that, you know, the hours being requested could mean the premises is operational with loud music 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. Residents would therefore get 7 hours respite from the operation of the venue once it closes at 5:30 each morning should this license be granted. This is likely to impact on the residents' quality of life and cause noise nuisance. That was from the appendix of representations from the licensing authority. So that in itself says it. And unfortunately, yes, everyone does need to make a living somehow, but the way that it's been suggested is not a realistic. It's not a realistic thing in this environment, unfortunately. And you know, I do feel for anyone who says that they have to make a living. I do as well. I mean, I'm up early hours of the morning when I have to work the next day. So I could say the same thing. I'm not fully functional the next day if I'm up on the weekends. But it's just a type of business that cannot run within this area, unfortunately.
So yeah, just to round off on that, I won't take much more of your time, but I'm just going to say that if there is any insinuation there that this is a racial issue, then I completely don't accept that, because that's not the case here. It's the music, it's the antisocial behavior, it's people urinating at the bottom of my staircase, and everything else that has been discussed during this meeting. So I, quite frankly, we've had the discussions, we've had meetings to try and resolve this. I think the time of resolving this on a one-to-one basis passed about 3 years ago. And I don't fancy going down at 4 o'clock in the morning and being intimidated by 4 people surrounding me from a bar that have been drinking. I'm not going to keep doing that, because I fear for my safety. So that's just what I would like to say.
Thank you.
Chair, may I say something?
Sorry, who's that?
Sorry, Chair, this is now the time for summing up. So if Ms. Blair and Mr. Silver want to sum up with anything.
Well, I was just about to ask that, yes, and I also would like to ask the licensing officer to sum up as well. Yes, would you like to sum up, Ms. De Silva or Ms. Blair, either of you?
Yes, I would like to speak. Can I?
Yes.
Sorry, Chair.
Sum up.
Sorry, Chair. Can you hear from the licensing authority first, and then leave the license holder to go last with the summing up?
Okay.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Just to sum up, to say that the premises will continue to have problems with regulated entertainment from the operation of the venue. Any 10 submitted for late night activity will need to be scrutinised going forward. We would like to say that we wish to support well-run businesses that have regard to the promotion of all licensing objectives. Thank you.
Oh, very short, sweet. Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Blair.
Thank you, Chair. Having listened to Pooja and Rashma, if I say it wrong, I do apologize. But having listened to her, the latter sister stated that at this point, it's more or less too late to have any kind of dialogue meeting or whatever. In my view, that is never too late, because Miss De Silva did mention, she spoke and she said that before she commenced the business, she went upstairs and tried to introduce herself and to speak to these people concerning the business. And of course, there wasn't there wasn't anything that was said to believe or want to imply that, you know, they would try in any way for this business to work. I accept there have been previous businesses there and they have failed, but it does not mean that Mr. Silver's business should fail, can fail, or must fail. I do believe that if the sisters and their mother is prepared to speak to Mr. Silva, I am absolutely sure, with myself now involved, as I was not involved from the very beginning, There can be a solution in dialogue and communication. The whole country is run on dialogue and communication. I cannot see why it cannot be successful on this occasion. Mr. Silva have spoken about her country, the culture of the business she runs, the ambassador attending her premises to enjoy the services there. Then there must be communication with upstairs and downstairs to resolve this problem. Closing her down is not going to be, at least give it the opportunity. I know you have said you have given it opportunities before. Fair enough. I wasn't involved, but I've heard you. Now, is it too late?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Silva, do you want to add anything to the
Yes, I feel very.
Just to sum up and not repeat everything that's been said before.
Sure. I feel very bad when the sister saying that what I say is not true. It's not fair. You know, I just want you to know. I just want them to know that I need to feed 4 small children. My youngest child, she's 1, and when I was pregnant of her, when I used to come during the lockdown, I used to go to my place to clean or do something else, and the police always comes. This is bullying. They need to stop making bullying for whoever goes to trade in that place. They are used to win. They are used to win because they live there, and for them is a part of a routine, coming to hearings every year. But this is not good of blocking somebody else's dreams. You know, this is not purpose of not unfold the venue. The last hearing when we came, they said that I used not to apply for TENS license, and there was a proof that I applied for TENS license every day. Stop making excuses. Stop making me like a very ugly monster. I'm not a very ugly monster. My people doesn't behave like that, doesn't go to urinate outside. It's not fair to treat me like that. Okay. I'm a human as well. I'm black, but I am human. And this is racial, because they said to my landlord that if this was an Indian place, that they could stand for the music. They could let it go. Okay? It's not fair. I've been speaking to previous people that was trading in this restaurant, and everybody left that place crying. And all these people invested money to be there. All I need, I believe that all I need is soundproof. But okay. I don't have money for the soundproof. If they can help me, somebody can help me to put the soundproof on the walls, I think this will end. This will end. I don't mind as well. If possible, if the council can transfer me to other place and I could generate some money for my children, for me it's okay. Today I struggled to buy uniform for my child because I have a business. I have a bar that cannot be a bar. I have a bar that have a coffee shop license, and it's not fair, because whoever goes there with this license will not succeed, because there is no windows. We are on the top floor. There is no windows to call people. I tried so many different things, but it doesn't work because it's a bar. So a bar should run as a bar. Okay, I tried everything. I did my best, and I ended with what? So many bills. Okay.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I like to thank everyone who attended this meeting tonight. And I will ask you to leave us. The panel are going to have a full discussion, and we'll let you know the outcome of our decision within 5 working days. Thank you again very much all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye.